Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And I've got a combination out here today that several of you guys kind of requested the last time we brought this shell out here, because you really wanted to see what it could do, because you guys thought that it might work out pretty well as a combo. So I figured I'd bring it out here and see what it could actually do and see if you guys were right, because there's definitely the potential that it could be pretty good, but I don't necessarily have the most trust in these shells, so we got to bring it out here and try it one way or the other and see if it works or not. So for the shell I've got out here today, I brought out some more of the Remington Nitro Turkey loads. Now these ones are the 12 gauge 2 3/4 inch 1.5 ounces of number 5 shells, going about 1260 feet per second. Now the last time we tested these shells, we tried them through the Cabela's Black Max 660 and they did okay-ish, or at least better than the 3.5 inch versions. So at least we're on the right track anyway, but maybe the combination we've got today might help them out a little bit more. I really don't know. I don't have the highest of hopes for them, but they have to do at least decently through something anyway. So I guess it might be this combination. And as for the setup we've got today, I brought out the Remington 1187, but for a choke, I went with this guy. This is the Avian-X Crusher 665 constriction turkey choke, and for a relatively budget turkey choke at, I think it was $45 to $50, something like that, it has given us some pretty good patterns and pretty consistent patterns. And several of you guys requested to see it with these shells, so maybe it might work. But as for the test today, we have everything set up the same as usual. I have the turkey target downrange at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph, so we'll be able to see our speed and how close it is to their box claim. So let's get you guys set up with a view of this target, and I'll head up and take the shot. We'll look at our chrono, and we'll go down and look and see how they actually performed at 40 yards. So let's get set up, and let's take this shot and see what we can get. Okay, so that shell gave us 1218 through our chronograph. The box was claiming 1260, so we're a little bit under that, but it seems like these shells bounce right around, say, the 1240 average-ish mark. We've seen some up in the 1260s. We've seen some a little bit lower, so I wouldn't call it anything too unusual for these shells. And 1218 with a load of lead 5s, that's pretty much right where I'd want to be anyway. So I definitely wouldn't say there's anything too strange up here to see, but how did they actually pattern down at 40 yards? Let's go take a look and see. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. And this pattern is pretty interesting, I gotta say. Now, right off the bat, I do think we have a dead bird here. There is one that clipped the bottom edge of the brain, as well as one or two more down the spine. So I do think we would have gotten that bird. But looking at the rest of the pattern here, it's definitely pretty interesting. On one hand, we kind of have a core area, even though the Birchwood Casey target is kind of not so great looking in the way that it chipped off there, where all the pellets went in. But I guess we can kind of see our core. And although it's not what I would call anything super outstanding, I think it's probably the best core that we've seen out of these Nitro Turkey shells. But clearly, backing up and looking at the rest of the pattern, it's kind of a little bit underwhelming, I guess. Again, our core isn't necessarily too bad, but as soon as you get outside of that initial, say, 10-inch circle there, the pattern is just all over the place at that point. It's very splotchy, it's very open around the edges, tons of big gaps and voids and just strings everywhere here. Definitely not really a pattern that I'm looking for, considering what's around the outside edges of that turkey paper, but what's on the turkey paper isn't necessarily bad for this shell anyway. There are still some bigger gaps and voids in there, like one right over there and one right down there as well, that I don't really like to see. But I don't know on this one. It's kind of a mixed bag. For this particular shell, the core center 5, 8, maybe 10 inches isn't bad considering what we've seen out of these shells previously. But as soon as you get outside of that, I really don't like the way the outside edges of that pattern actually perform down here, that's for sure. I guess this is just a case of test it through your gun and your setup and see how it does, because it might look like this, it might look a little better, or it might look a little worse. But I'd say kind of a mixed bag on this one. Okay, and here's the wad from that shell. And as you can see, pretty typical Remington turkey wad, I'd say. Nothing too out of the ordinary, nothing stuck down in there. Petals do have the little ribs on the inside, maybe to strengthen them up a little bit or something. But overall, not really anything too special here. We do see a few tiny little pinholes, but not really anything I'm too concerned about. A couple of the petals did twist a little bit, but still not really anything that I'm really worried about. Overall, pretty average, I'd say, especially for how these wads tend to look when they come out of these shells. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that pattern right there? On one hand, the core center, say 8 inches or so, isn't terrible necessarily. It's not the best we've seen by a long shot, but it's far from the worst as well. But as soon as you get outside of that dinner plate size circle there, the pattern really just kind of goes all over the place at that point. So I don't know. On one hand, we saw some improvement with the core area going to that Avian-X. But on the other hand, the outside 2/3 of that pattern are worse than what we saw last time. So kind of a mixed bag on this one, but guess I'll leave it up to you guys to decide. So leave your thoughts in the comments. Is it about what you expected to see? Were you hoping for better or expecting worse? And if you tried this combination, how has it done for you? And is that a pattern that you would use for your turkey hunts? Let me know all that down in the comments. But with that being said, I've got a bunch more testing coming y'all's way, so stay tuned. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send things if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested, but I'm gonna get back to it. So I'll see y'all in the next one.